Good morning, gang. Happy Wednesday. I have a question for you. Have you ever wondered what happened to your classmates from grammar school? Well, let me tell you. I grew up on the northwest side of Chicago, and I attended St. Stanislaus Bishop and Martyr School. And I was a classmate of Eddie Spreitzer and his sister, Jennifer Spreitzer. My mother was the president of the Mothers Club, and because of her role in the Mothers Club, she knew everybody's mom, including theirs. Now, after graduating from St. Stan's, my family moved to Elmhurst, Illinois, which is a suburb just west of Chicago, where I attended and graduated from York High School. At the time, little did I know that the boy that I attended grammar school with would go on to become one of the members of the notorious Chicago Ripper crew, who would abduct and kill several women, including a young woman whom I had graduated high school with. At the time of his trial, his mom testified that he had always been a slow child, and that, his biological father treated him poorly because of his handicap. She ended up divorcing him when Eddie was 7 years old. She went on to remarry, and while her new husband treated Eddie as though he was his own, he was very, very strict. She then went on to tell the court that Eddie was made to repeat the kindergarten class because he was deemed not mature enough to go on to the first grade. So this explains to me why he and his sister were in the same class. I think when we were kids we thought they were twins. Anyway, she also told the court that throughout his school-aged years that he did very poorly. She described her son as being shy and withdrawn, and believed that this was the reason why he was friendless. Now, friends of Eddie's mom also testified that they noted that he was shy and withdrawn, and they noticed that he seemed to be punished extensively for bad behaviors. One of our fellow classmates, Albert Zelcha, who I remember, so hey there, Albert, described Eddie as a weirdo. He said he was very shy and he was unable to stand up for himself, and he noted that Eddie cried a lot. Now, I remember Eddie crying. I didn't have much interaction with him other than seeing him after my piano lesson when he was going in to take his piano lesson. Now, at the time of his trial, his sister Jennifer, who I remember more of, said that she and Eddie were in the same grade level when they were at St. Stanislaus, and she recalled that he had a very hard time in school. He was very slow, and so she tutored him so that he could graduate the 8th grade. Father George Dendrick, who was our 7th grade teacher, also described him as very quiet, but he was cooperative, so there was no outbursts. I don't remember Eddie, showing any outburst or disrupting the class, but he was very slow. He said that Eddie's extremely poor grades were the reason why Eddie could not apply and enroll into Weber, which was an all-boys Catholic high school just around the corner from St. Stan's. And he was not eligible to enroll in any Catholic vocational high school programs either. Eddie went on to attend Fenger Public High School, which I have to be honest, I did not recall ever hearing of. And so I did some looking up of where it was located and found that it is on the south side of Chicago, which leads me to believe that his family had moved to that area at the time. And Robert Hecker, who had been the assistant principal, testified that Eddie's attendance was very poor. He failed all of his classes. And at the start of his sophomore year, they had a meeting with, the teachers, the principal, and his parents, along with Eddie, and it didn't help at all. He completely fell apart. Again, he passed no courses, and he did not return to high school for his third year. When he was 18 years old, he had an accident with the family car, and his stepfather told him to move out of the house. He then went to live with his biological father for a while, and then his grandma, who also asked him to leave. It was then that he kind of flopped from friend to friend, making the rounds, just like sleeping on couches. He didn't have a home of his own. Forgot to mention that when he did live in his family's home, they had a neighbor, and his name was William Rudnick. And William Rudnick had befriended Eddie, and he, had advised Eddie that maybe he should take up some trade, that he should learn a trade. So when Eddie was flopping from friend's house to friend's house, he worked odd jobs here and there, and these included working for Burger King and Winchell's Donuts. Then one day, he was very excited to tell everyone that he had been hired by a Richard Geckt, who happened to be an electrician, and that he would be learning skills that he could use. No one could imagine in 100 years that this job would mark the beginning of his role in the Chicago Ripper crew that made up of 4 of the most evil individuals who terrorized Chicago from 1981 to 1982. They are best known for committing some of the most gruesome, horrific murders in the Midwest. The Chicago River Crew are believed to have abducted over 18 women and murdered at least 6 that anybody's aware of. There's a lot of suspicion that there could be far more victims of this satanic serial killer group. They were dubbed the Chicago Ripper Crew because their crimes resembled the crimes of the infamous Jack the Ripper, the serial killer in the UK who terrorized London in the late 1800s. Now, before I get into the details of their crimes, I would like to caution you that this gets pretty bad. Now, this Chicago Ripper Crew, was led by an individual by the name of Robin Geckt, who had hired Eddie Spritzer. This was the gentleman that Eddie thought he was going to learn the trade of being an electrician. Now, just to give you a quick backstory on Robin Geckt, he was born Robert, but he went by the name of Robin. And he was married, and he had 3 children, and for the most part, he and his wife and their kids lived a pretty quiet life in a home that they had rented on the northwest side of Chicago. And, they kept to themselves. His wife was Catholic, and their children attended a local Catholic school. His wife also worked part-time as a waitress at a nearby restaurant. And from time to time, she would tell her co-workers about things that bothered her when it came to her marriage. She would say that it bothered her that Robin had stayed out all night, and he often brought home other women. But she claimed that she loved him too much to leave him. Now, interestingly, even though his wife was Catholic and they were sending their children to a Catholic school, Robin started to dabble in Satanism. And when I talk about Satanism, let me be very clear. This Chicago Ripper Crew was dabbling in some very dark Satanism that involves ritualistic sacrifices of humans and all of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this story up into a few parts because it is actually quite long. And there was quite a bit of research I had to put into it. But I will tell you, it is a fascinating story. It's quite scary, actually. It's very, very gruesome, and it's very dark. And, I sit and I think to myself, or I wonder, how this happened to somebody that I went to school with.